Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining. It is now week 2 of Bike Month, and that means that it's Family Week. Thanks for joining the live stream. So today we wanted to talk to a parent, since I don't have kids of my own. So I thought instead of telling you, hey, this is how you should ride with your kids, I thought why not talk to someone that has experience riding with kids and just riding with family. So joining me today is Kirie. Let me add him to the screen. Hey there, Kirie. How's it
Hey,
going?
hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So, yeah, give us like a little intro. Tell us about yourself. Yeah.
Well, I'm Kyrie. I'm a 30-year-old, 30 years old. I have a 6 years old, and we ride primarily around San Diego. In between riding with one another, I normally ride to work or ride to a friend. Keep it in between. Especially when I don't have my son, it's a good pastime of mine to do, commuting through the city. Um, so yeah, since my son has probably been maybe 3 or so, he's probably been on his bike from the training wheels all the way to now off training wheels, and it's been a great experience.
Nice. Yeah. So you said you do like some commuting. What kind of bikes do you like to ride?
I started out with the fixie, and then I transitioned into a road bike. Got something. I found some vintage bike that I just loved, and it worked for me. And then from then on, some of my friends were riding fixies and road bikes as well. But I guess recently, maybe in 2016, yeah, 2016, I've been noticing some of my friends having BMX bikes. And then that's when I kind of felt like I've been reliving my second childhood riding around also in BMXs. So I have a caliber of bikes. It just depends on the preference of how am I riding for the day.
Yeah, I feel that. I definitely. I've always been like a believer of like building a bike around like what exactly you're going to use it for. I think we do that
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of different ways to get around. Um, so I don't know if you mentioned it, but how did you get involved with the coalition and us? And yeah, give us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I got involved. It was during a ride. Excuse me, I rode in the Silver Strand from Imperial Beach, no, from from downtown to Coronado to the Silver Strand to get that way. And on the way down to Imperial Beach from downtown, I ran into the Bike Coalition in Imperial Beach where I met Sylvie. And during that time, I was just riding for passion, and she seen that I was definitely passionate about cycling, and she shared the information. Um, at the time, I hooked up with lights and helmets and bike locks and all these cool tools that I actually needed out on the road that I didn't have at the time. And then from then on, I realized that I was just in the dark, and my light had kind of just been turned on because once I met Sylvie and I got plugged in, I followed and did the scavenger hunt, I believe. From then on, I started to follow on the rest of the things going on with the coalition, and then I eventually wanted to join and found myself joining in the party as well.
Nice. Well, I'm so excited to have you on, not just like at the coalition, but on today, because I feel like every time that I've seen you at events and stuff, you're always riding with like a bunch of like friends or family members, or like with your son. It's so cool to see people like having a good time on bikes together. Um, so
That's why I wanted to be a part of the coalition, because it was like having like-minded individuals. I realized that maybe I may be a bike enthusiast and love my bike, but to find someone else that you don't know in cycling on the road and actually find out like, hey, he's actually into road bike, mountain biking, e-bike, and it goes on, and you're like, wow, so that's always nice to find someone that has the common interest as you.
yeah, definitely. It's like it's such a like like we all love bikes, I think, for like different reasons, and so like hearing why that person, has a love for
Yeah.
their style of riding or why they ride is always so I don't know, it's so enlightening to me, definitely. So let's talk about family. So the first question I have for you is, what are some of your best memories of riding with family, or maybe, some of like the earliest, like who got you on a bike, and yeah, what are some of those good memories you have?
Um, Childhood memories for sure. My father um, toured with me on his back a lot of Monterey, and my sister, my older sister, my mom, and I would just ride bikes around Monterey when I was a kid. Eventually, I moved to Southern California, and I didn't ride as often because of living in the city. When I finally moved to San Diego, I had a great passion to ride, but then it was still like the commuting, the hills where you live logistically, it just all didn't work out for me at the time until I got into college. So, biking for me has always been something that has been like encouraged my family. Hey, go walk to the store, go skateboard, figure it out. That was getting out, being active was definitely in my household. And that just carried out from having summertime to just being with one another, me and my cousin, and wanting to go to the store to the nearest Walmart. We had to hop on the bike and, ride 30 minutes over. And then we learned a little simple bike mechanics, say, putting air in the tire, changing the inner tube, things that I guess boys would well, we felt like all grow to do just for being outside and active. That's my base of biking. From then on, from the simple adventures with just family members, with my cousins and even my father. Now when I ride around, it just seems like it just magnifies my childhood. It's just going on a long adventure, trying to see as much sightseeing as possible. Maybe making it before the sun goes down, see how far we can go before the sun is up. If it's a morning ride, um, you know, that's like my good grips hold on biking for sure. Is just how to make this fun, and then now as an adult, transitioning to like the health, the how mentally, how that's been benefiting to my life, um, and also encouraging to others to hey stay fit. To I'm doing this, you can do it too. Ride out with me, and then next thing you know, you just find yourself having a big pool of people where they remember you for biking or they remember you for seeing you on the road, and now it just seems like no matter what, you have another family that's on the set of wheels.
Definitely, yeah. That's interesting. You mentioned that about like your cousin and like being younger. I always feel like everyone always has like this like unique and like really fun story of like growing up and like I don't know, riding around with like a cousin or a brother or a sister or something
Yeah.
like that.
And
Like
I gotta share the story, Oliver, not to cut you off.
no, no, no,
But
go
like
go.
this is recently, like last week, my cousin visited and he was like, hey, I want to see some store down in the city. And I was like, okay, hey, let's ride bikes and let's let that be the day. So he hopped on one of my dynos, and I rode on another bike, and we rode through from downtown. And we started from downtown. We started from Hillcrest, and we rode downtown to Barrio Logan, and then eventually made our way up to Balboa on 25th Street, over there in Golden Hills, to getting to North Park because he didn't want to ride up this big hill to getting back to where the car was and where we started originally. And it's just like for me, I enjoyed it, but then my cousin, he's not a cyclist. He doesn't ride. He's on a single speed. Um, he didn't realize the challenge that I had in mind, but we did check out everything how we planned. He didn't get a parking ticket, but it just became a memorable story that hey, no, I'm not riding with Kirie because he's gonna push me to the limit. And now it's just like when you get back on the bike, get ready for the summer. It's becoming a thing that he's looking at. Hey, I'm out of shape. but I'm gonna do certain things. I want to eventually get a bike. I want to ride with you some more. He didn't realize that until actually coming out and just riding out. I kind of feel bad that I put him through 20 miles like that, but at the same time, I just felt like we're gonna love it because it's something that I enjoyed as a kid, and yeah, different experience for it.
Yeah, I feel like if people sort of captured that like energy of like being like a kid, right? And like just going out there to enjoy the ride rather than like, oh, I have to. I mean, obviously, like if you're commuting, like awesome. I've commuted to work and it's awesome. It's fun.
Right.
It's a great workout. There's stuff about health there, but sometimes I always feel like there's this like pressure to like be competitive or like there's a reason rather than just to enjoy. Like when you were talking about your cousin, like the first thing that came to my mind was like racing down a hill with my cousin when we were like probably like preteens, and just
Right.
like on these like rusty like old bikes that were like super heavy or like trying our hardest to like push it up a hill and like get up there and like
Yeah.
show up to the park all sweaty. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think as adults we sort of forget, like that we can have so much fun on a bike and instead it can become very like utilitarian or it can be very like competitive, you know what I mean? Which is fine. Like, I love it when people push themselves, right? Like as
Right.
athletes or whatever. But yeah, definitely I try and spread that to people. It's like, just enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the key. Is like even my experience of getting out there on the road has always been of having fun, but even when I have to commute to work, it's like, okay, how do I get to where I'm going faster, or what can I do to make this make it to here or there in the shortest time with maybe not up the hill, or if I do go up the hill, what is my facing? Learning the way different ways to get around is just nothing but beneficial in life because no matter what, you're always gonna have obstacles, and sooner you can work your way around these obstacles, you find yourself progressing more in life. So just being out there on the road, it gives you so much skills, from peripheral vision to, breathing up sweat, driving on the road with others, riding with others as a pack is a skill as well. And you realize that you forget it when you turn it off when you're not active, and that's why I love being part of the group because it's like you know when I do miss an event, or there's always something going on, but when I do miss an event and when I do finally come out, it's like, hey, you can do this. We missed you here. Could you do this? And it's like I find myself like that void. I'm needed. I need to do this. I need to be here. I want to participate. Even having Caleb on a few rides. I think he made it out for the protest rides last year, and just seeing him having a fearless heart encourage other kids to go out there and want to ride as well. And it's just like, wow, so you don't realize something until sometimes when you see other people's your influence and other people's, and then that's when you're like, oh wow, I'm doing something that's bigger than me.
Yeah, definitely. So my first like memory of meeting you was at an event and you were with your son, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. You're like the like coolest like bike dad ever, just like getting him on the bike and like riding around with him. It was so awesome to see. So
Thank
I
you.
guess I wanna hear about like the behind the scenes, like the setup of like riding around with your son. And so
Yeah.
my question is, like we'll get into the fun and to the benefits in a second, but I want to hear like what are some of the challenges of riding with your family, or with your son, or kids as a whole.
No, that's a good question. Safety is primary number one, especially with the little ones. And I know riding with my son, it was definitely a challenge from that transition from training wheels to getting them off. And he had, first of all, he had the self courage to say, "Hey, Dad, I'm ready to do this. I want to do ride with no training wheels. So once he committed to what riding without training wheels, and even riding with training wheels, it was getting his confidence to that level. Does he feel safe? Did he fully understand how to stop? What is he risking by putting his foot down and he misses a pedal? What happens when he turns too fast and the bike is tipping over? And these are the things that once he started to realize that, hey, I had to adjust myself. Hey, this is okay to stop. Hey, my dad is behind me, or hey, my dad's in front of me, and realizing that when you're going in a direction, so you always have to be in control of where you're going, because you can't just pedal and not have a sense of direction, because you eventually go to a wall or into a bush. So learning and having understanding, like, yes, you are in motion, but you're the one that's in control, and instilling that like confidence was one. So once he actually said, hey, I'm ready to remove the training wheels, and he actually seen, maybe myself or another kid riding without training wheels, from then on, it was lessons in the grass, falling in the grass, letting him trying to take strides in the grass, and to find a sense of balance, to realize it's okay to fall, to then eventually getting some strides in, and then I'll say comfortability. But once he had he put in his mind that he wanted to do it. I remember my son wanting to do it maybe for a month, and maybe the first week was okay. Then he stopped. He stopped until the next week. The next week we tried again, and then he got on, and he made more progress. He was able to ride in a right straight. Then we took it up a moment from riding straight. Then we took it back. I actually brought him a 16-inch bike, and at the time was like a perfect size for him. And we had to go back maybe to like a 14, because once he got comfortable, he got used to being on the bike that he was on training wheels, and that was a smaller bike. And just getting him to the comfortable to where when it was like 14 and being close to the floor, when he was riding, instead of falling and normally he'll fall to the side, he was able to now put out his leg. And then he realized that, hey, you know what? It's just a matter of keeping my balance on this. And then he eventually stopped putting his leg out. And it built his confidence to just keep, cycling, going up and down like a foot spin. And then just like from that, seeing other kids being confident. And then even when we ride together, riding beside me as much as he could, and him being in the inside towards the bike, towards the sidewalk, and me being close to the street. Or when we did have to do unison, he'll be in front and I'll be in the back. That way, that if he fell, I could always stop him or grab him or whatever. And then same time too, like making sure he had reflectors, a helmet, knee pads, shoulder pads, not shoulder pads, but elbow pads. Just so that, if he did fall, he didn't wait. We didn't waste so much time trying to recover, get him recovered to get back on the bike. So once we had, confidence, he had courage, and then at the same time too, room to fail. At the same time too, I explained to him, hey, you may fall. Hey, you're gonna fall to the side. Hey, this is how you stop. Much practice as possible before just allowing him to ride in the street. So many times we just rode in the park and just in the grass. So there's various ways, but definitely safety has always been the one, because you definitely don't want something bad to happen to your loved one, to another loved one, to and someone else out there on the road. And it can't be fun, but as we all know, fun does come with risk, and you just have to really monetize that as possible.
Yeah, I always, whenever I see parents riding around with their kids, I always think like damn, that person is such a superhero, because I don't know if I would have the patience, or I guess
right.
I would have the patience, but it's just it seems like it could be such a stressful activity to do. I've experienced it with my younger brother. He's 4. And oh no, he's not 4. I'm sorry, he's 7. Yeah, I wish he was
Okay.
4, so he was younger. Yeah, and so he's 7, and so like it gets like he knows how to ride, but like I'll see him like grip the brakes really fast. I'm like, oh my god, please don't hurt yourself. And I realized after
Right.
a while, it's like no, like that's part of the learning process too. Is like learning how to be comfortable on your own bike, and I think too like sometimes like we as like maybe like I'm not a parent, but like maybe as an older brother or as an older family member, like kind of pumping the brakes and realizing like, okay, no, like they have to learn this as well. You know what I mean? Like I can't just tell them how to do it.
That was a I definitely I would I definitely noticed this is that Caleb went through. I mean, my son Caleb has went through so many bikes, and I say went through. He started out with maybe a little red wagon push bike where Daddy was just pushing him all through the city. Then he felt like he was doing something then to 16, 14, and with training wheels, and to okay getting like a loaner 20, and the loaner 20 was just like perfect because he's on a bigger bike so he can keep up with Dad. At the same time, if he fell and scratched it, it wasn't a bike where it's like, oh no, you scratched your little ripper, oh no, like it costs so much money that you're just like, yikes. So you don't even give the chance. You don't, most times you don't give your kid a chance to even fail. So, giving him a chance to, hey, it's okay, you're gonna scratch it up, you're gonna be reckless. This is just your first bike. To eventually saying, hey, okay, look, you got that down. You're now riding, standing up. You look at you're kind of comfortable enough to try to grab your brake handle. Then you can start graduating them to better bikes. But it's just like um, the fact that he's motivated, and I just try to feel that motivation, and having that courage is beautiful. But I definitely feel like just giving lots of options. If it was probably just one bike he had and we're strapped for cash, I would definitely would have, it would have been a struggle. Maybe he would have learned so quick. But the fact that just being active, just Dad being active when I could, taking them, and then eventually when you start seeing other kids, it was just like, hey, I want to do that. They're doing it. I can do it. And then, don't let it be someone smaller or maybe the opposite sex, or, he's seen maybe one of his friends. And now he's just, he's more driven than ever before. But it does take a lot of work. It takes patience. Same time too, seeing your kid get hurt is not always fun. I remember one time my son rode, we're in La Jolla, and we're on campus at UCSD, and we're riding down, getting back to the car. On the way going down to the car, we're like final stretch, going down the hill. Daddy's a little ahead of son. I hear, Dad, Dad. And I'm like, yes, Chachi. That's my nickname. And then he goes, Dad, I had to scratch my nose. So I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So I say, just stop. And before he stops, he just scratches his nose and forgets to stop. And what happens is he runs right into a bush. But luckily, nothing happens. No, not a scratch. He's fine. It was definitely an embarrassing moment as a parent. I feel bad for him as a kid. It was like, oh, you crashed right into the bush. I told you to stop. You didn't stop. And he's like, yeah, Dad, it just itched. I just thought I can itch it. I forgot that I was even on the bike. And it's just like, yeah, you're going about 12 miles per hour. You're like, I know you're going pretty smooth. We're going downhill, but it's okay. It's okay to stop. You told me, Chachi, you told me, Daddy. I said, Chachi, I was stopping already. It's okay. Like, but just, and that's where it's so great when I joined the coalition. The simplest thing that my son could recite is ABCs, and that goes to air brake chain. And it's just like, hey, you have air in your tire, your brakes are working, you know how to brake. See, your chain is on. Okay, we're ready to ride. Those fundamental things are, constantly. Hey, like your seatbelt. You have your seatbelt strapped. Hey, your ABCs. You remember how to brake. So just those are little fundamental things that all parents could do and try to try to give their kids some time and explain to them that, hey, this is a machine, and you can hurt yourself and you can hurt someone else as well. So
Definitely. Well, so you touched a little bit on it. You're talking about how your son like is more driven and like he's having a great time. So I guess that's a good uh, jumping point for the next question, which is, what are some of the benefits that you see, of riding with family or riding with your kids, whoever it might be?
um, from the first thing, from my first memory, would probably be unity. Um, brings the family together. You guys have to communicate with one another. You can't just, you guys could ride together and not talk with one another, but the ride wouldn't be so successful. I feel like in order to have a successful ride, it would be, needed to work with one another, to talk with one another, to be on the same page, to know that, hey, we're all both crossing the street. It's safe. That way, the ride is successful. No one gets hurt. It's not a horror story. It's more of a dream come true. Um, Riding as a family, from at least in my experience, it has been motivating to other families, to my peers and friends, to say, hey, yeah, I ride with my son, and they may notice me out and about, and then they see my son and recognize that, and they're just like, wow, well, can we ride out? Because I have a son as well, and I would love for us to ride as a pair. I see your little man. I didn't realize your son is 6, and you ended up having organic conversations, and it's something that anyone can do if you learn how to ride a bike. But at the same time, too, it does take time and skill. But when you're riding with others, it brings competition. It brings great memories, and even myself, I've been inspired. Neighbors, like they always say, hey, it's great seeing you biking up that hill. Lets me know that, hey, I should go walking today. And you're just like, wow, I'm struggling to get up this hill, but thank you. I didn't recognize that. So riding with family, yeah, especially being a dad is you have a key role of setting the tone of how the ride's going to be. Where's the ride going to be? If the ride's at the beach and it's fun and everyone's happy and it's a hot day, it's a lovely time. But if you choose to go ahead and do you know I don't know, inland empire on a summer night, it may not be the funnest ride. So you have to pick your battles. But since you get to pick your battles, you also can have some great memories. Um, with one another.
Definitely. Yeah, I've always found it to be like a great way to make memories with my younger brother, like taking him out to like the park or something. Just like going out for a ride. He always seems like he's having a great time and just sort of providing like an outlet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, great outlet. I mean, I even went on dates on my bike, thinking a friend packing for lunch and going to like where the park or beach, some destination, and letting out the spread, but just doing something different than just traveling on, in the car. You know, yes, it's fine, and we all do it, but then you know, in my experience, some of the greatest memories is just thinking about, hey, I had the Bluetooth blasting. We were laughing, we were all singing the song, and we were cruising down the street, and it just seemed like it was a perfect rap video. But you know, it wasn't a rap video. It was just me and my family hanging out. So that's where it's just like that. Those are definitely fun times, especially my son has his songs, his playlist, his bike playlist, and he looks forward to his playlist being played on the ride out. And now we have like something to look forward to. Another outlet to look forward to. And it can be done creatively.
Definitely. Yeah. So, um,
Sorry, guys. There's a camera. The camera's like here, like a shine. I put
oh
it
no,
here.
no worries, no worries. It gives you like a very almost like album art kind of like look, like like move it
Mm,
back really quick. Like I want to say,
little holographic.
Yeah, it gives it like a very like Instagram sort of vibe.
Thank you. Okay, cool.
Um, so, so my last question is, what
Sure.
advice would you give to other parents about riding with their kids or riding with family? Because it seems like, there's a lot of benefits that can be had, but then also like a lot of stuff to, try and keep in mind as well.
I would say for any parent that's wanting their kid or to bike with their kid, just to get them out there, give them patience. Make sure for sure that they have a good route, whether that be around the park, around the neighborhood, that it's a safe area for the biker. That way, certain parts of the city, it could be more congested than the other, certain times of the day, and keeping safety in mind and patience, it just prevents a lot of tragedy happening. You know, for my son, he learned very fast during last year during quarantine, where a lot of people were inside and no one's on the road. Just having that, having the road to himself gave him more freedom to figure out what worked for him, what was his comfortability. Same time too, if it wasn't in the park where we were first learning to ride, we maybe started off in the parking lot once he learned just to go in a circle, and then we just did a Daytona loop around till he got comfortable, and that we just worked on his left turns, and then we turned it around and started working on his right turns, and then we just created these little apparatuses that I knew he could do well in. I seen his limits, and I just worked with what he can do. Worked with his comfortability to gain his confidence. So definitely strive for confidence. Definitely strive for a safe road, safe bike. These are the key factors in keeping not just getting them to ride, but keeping them wanting to ride. Is that enjoyable experiences. The bike fit. Even if you have to make shift stuff, same time to make sure that it's at least safe. The brakes are in place. They have enough thread. Your child or maybe the older person is aware that, hey, you know what, these are not coaster brakes. These are disc brakes. You have to pull those levers. So because there's so many bikes now that I even find it whereas from the 80s to 90s to the 2000s that people remember what they had, their Swin or their love of bike, and then now they're looking at a Mongoose or a Sunday or whatever bike, and they're just like, I didn't know bikes now have discs. I didn't know. And it's like, yeah, bikes now are more high tech. They even have some hydraulics. There's gears. So that's where it's just like, hey, everyone is understood of how to operate the bike. So these are I'll probably say the major keys to success.
Definitely. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that about like Schwins and stuff. It's always fun talking to folks who maybe haven't like had a bike in a while, and like
Mm-hmm.
hearing about their experiences, and then also like, yeah, there's just always like something new. So seeing their sort of reaction to it is always an interesting time. Cool. Well, we usually open this up to questions from our massive audience. Yeah, so we have one from Jacob, and he says, how do you stay safe riding bikes with your family?
Oh, good question, Jacob. One of the best ways to stay safe is communicate, ride as a unit. Maybe keeping giving your family a map of, hey, this is where we're going, this is where we're going to be next. If we do separate, this is the plan. Having a plan helps. Even if, hey, I'm dad, I'm going to be in the back, the kids are going to be in the front, and they're going to be following mom in the front, and that way we're aware that, hey, I need to be here. If you don't see me here, we need to go back to what we planned. So having a clear plan, clear expectations, that everyone is understood, and that normally rides to a safe. Riding as a unit is great, but I noticed that, hey, I wasn't sure we're gonna stop at the ice cream spot, and then the group splits up, and then we're in confusion, and then so to stop some of that, to keeping clear expectations, um, keeping kid closest to the sidewalk if needed, maybe putting kid on sidewalk and parent in a bike lane. There's different ways. I've also took that was been great help for me was the bike classes, bike fundamental classes that was offered within the bike co-op, and it also gave lessons on riding a helmet, riding with reflectors, um, wearing visible clothing, key things to for safety. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, so to insert a pretty shameless plug, what I would do also, so we do like a biking with kids like class as well, offered pretty regularly. But I mean, obviously I'm not a parent, but I like with my younger brother, I think one of the things that's been really helpful is like finding a controlled sort of spot. You know what I mean? So
Correct.
like for example, like I live in downtown, I wouldn't be like, all right, we're we're gonna ride down Broadway. Like going to the park or like one of my favorite places, even to ride like myself or with my partner. She's like really into roller skates, and she's like still learning, and so like we'll go to like Liberty Station, for example, and I'll like ride around on my skateboard, and she's like learning how to do stuff on the roller skates, like that. Like places like that, I feel like are really great places to teach your kids like how to ride and like get more comfortable before you like I don't know, take them out on a ride like to a destination, right? I mean,
Agree. Because
or
like
at the
one
very least,
another.
I would feel more comfortable like if they figured out like, okay, this is how I stop safely before I'm like, all right, let's go ride to the ice cream truck. You know what I mean?
Correct. Even I would say another great spot is Mission Bay, around Mission Bay, around the boardwalk, as well as Mission Beach. I've constantly see new families, beginning roller skaters, rollerbladers, and it's simple. You just go north and south, but it's a great, that 2 5 mile stretch gives you great practice and opportunity. So I agree with the controlled environment.
Yeah. So this one isn't from the audience, but I just came to me right now. So sometimes I feel like with a lot of younger kids, um, it can be kind of tough to like get them on the bike. Like my brother's pretty good at it, like I can tell him like, hey, all right, like time to hop off the iPad, or like, all right, enough with the Fortnite for now. Like, let's go outside and have a good time. And he's always been an angel in that regard of like, okay, cool, let's go do it. But I hear that a lot from parents is like, man, like I don't know how to get them outside, or they're like
Right.
super into this, and I want to like try and encourage this. Did you have to like encourage your son? Like, how do you encourage them to get out and like ride with you, or just in general?
Well, whether it be with me or even with a family member, my son does have a cousin, my nephew, and they're close in age. So sometimes it's having the competition of seeing one doing something, the other kid wants to do it. That old philosophy, monkey see, monkey do. When kids are so young and impressionable, if they feel like they couldn't do something because they could, the risk of falling and all the fears, if you can eliminate the fear and let them see, like, hey, you can do that too. That person's the same age, same size, has the same, structure as you, and they're able to do it. Normally, that kind of feeds a kid. Another thing that's been a great help for me was having other cousins and people in the community. So maybe my son we didn't ride bikes that day, but while on the walk, he's seen two kids, riding bikes with their family, and he's like, Dad, I want to ride. I don't want to walk anymore. Walking's fun. So it's just kind of exposure. Um, I feel like really boosted my son's confidence was riding in a group riding, with whether it be kids like his age or just even in my group. That he felt like, hey, I did this. Having that accomplishment that he wasn't excluded from, and he was more included. It felt like it just he didn't want to ride a 16. He wanted a 20. And then eventually, now, what daddy was doing, he felt like I can do that too. So it's just like, I would say, good as the company you keep, keep definitely motivation out there. Riding in groups, try to group ride. Those are the things that I felt took my kid to a whole nother level of confidence and wanting to actual ride by himself instead of just like, oh, okay, I'll get to it, or yeah, dad, I'll ride with you. It became like, no, dad, are we riding today? We haven't rode bikes all week. We're going to ride. It's today the day, and then from there, you never could go wrong with giving a kid some positive encouragement, a pat on the back, ice cream at the end, letting them know, hey, look, I've seen you improve. Positive feedback goes a long way, especially with little kids. You don't really hear a lot of kids saying, hey, I don't think I can do that. You mostly hear that, hey, I can do it too. So when they have that mindset, they can do it too, or they're curious about it, it's always best to try to, encourage them, give them a boost as best as possible.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything. Before we go, I want to ask you, do you have anything to plug? Tell us where to go. Do you have any causes you'd like for us to support? Anything like that? Any parting words, messages?
Stay safe out there. Keep riding for all those riders out there. Keep changing gears. Stay in your lane. I would say honestly, stay tuned. I know the bike of the bay has been a thing. I don't know if I should say that on air, but that's something that I'm excited about. I definitely see some cyclists running around with a ribbon. So that's something I would love to do. It's something that I look forward to seeing you two, Ali, out there, and a few others. But yeah, there's great rides. I would say look forward to SD biking. Look forward to the Breonna Taylor ride. That's a great cause. That's actively going on. I would just say getting involved, stay involved, share with others. That's the path that I'm on. So I will probably leave you guys on that same one.
Awesome, thank you. Well, before we go, I also have plugs.
Sure.
Let me pull those up. So because it's Bike Month, we're doing just so many different rides and events and classes. But the first one that we have coming up is on Saturday. I hope to see you there. It's the Mission Bay Bike Ride. And yeah, it's just a self-guided ride. We've been working on this, pretty fun little route through Mission Bay. And you can find the map on our website. And yeah, that's on Saturday, this Saturday, May 15th. And I believe we're starting at 9 a.m. And then we'll have, pit stops. And yeah, it's just a good way to kind of explore Mission Bay. And then the other one that I have to plug is actually just the entirety of next week. So Sandag is putting on Bike Anywhere Week, and there are a bunch of classes. You can take a bike commuting pledge, as well as do a bingo card. And through that, you can win just a bunch of different prizes. All that information is on our website. You can get a T-shirt. You can get some bike racks, some backpacks. Yeah, there's just so much gear to give out. And it's all just for riding your bike. Big classes coming up. We got bike yoga this Sunday, the 16th. I believe it starts at 10 a.m. And yeah, yoga, but for bikes. Or rather, yoga for bike-minded people. And then the really big one that I'm really excited about is our bike safety check, which is going to be on next Monday, the 17th, from 12:30 to 1:30. I'll be leading that in Spanish, and then we'll have a portion in English as well. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, get involved. We have a bunch of awesome classes for commuters and stuff. Thank you so much again for joining us. And hopefully I'll see you soon at a bike ride. And
Yes.
yeah, awesome.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, all right. Have a good one.
You too later.
Later.